In today's video, we're discussing all the latest NHL news and rumors, most of which comes from the latest 31 Thoughts blog by Elliotte Friedman. Teams we're focusing on today include the New York Islanders, Toronto Maple Leafs, Vegas Golden Knights, and Montreal Canadiens. We'll discuss all the latest coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of news updates here today, most of which comes from Elliotte Friedman's 31 Thoughts blog, and some of it comes directly from the NHL. The NHL had announced yesterday that the hopeful plans for the World Cup, which they were hoping to do in 2021, is no longer going to be possible. That idea is basically now a dead deal, will not be proceeding. They've run out of time. They were kind of hoping to do something in the line of a World Cup or a mini World Cup or something to that effect, some kind of international event, but it's no longer going to be possible. Of course, the year after 2022 would be the next Olympics, so there is potential talk now of having a couple of World Cups planned beyond that, probably around 2024, 2028, something to that effect. So it's obviously that's a long ways out. There is talk that the All-Star Game will obviously replace a potential World Cup in 2021 and go back to what they normally do, but they'll try to create some type of international flavor or something with it to kind of spruce things up. Maybe have a different concept or something. I don't know exactly what that's going to entail. But the main point of the announcement was that the World Cup plans will definitely not be proceeding and that there will not be a World Cup in 2021 like the NHL was really hoping for. At this point, the NHL players are still very keen, very interested on attending the Olympics in 2022. And so far, the NHL owners are still not very interested as well. So it's hard to say exactly what our next big international event will be that will include NHL talent. Now let's jump over and take a look at some latest thoughts and rumors here from the 31 Thoughts blog by Elliotte Friedman. He does go on to talk about the New York Islanders in the latest edition, indicating that he feels like the Islanders would be very interested in adding a scoring forward, more likely a scoring winger. He also goes on to joke in that thought that he does not expect Lou Lamoriello to really divulge much of anything to him. Of course, Lou is known for keeping things really tight to the vest and not really getting anything leaked out of the organization, so it's not something that they're really expecting to get much more information on. But obviously the Islanders have had a really excellent start to the season. They're certainly a team who should be a playoff team and could very well be considered a contender, and an extra piece like one more scoring forward who can play in their top six might be the piece they need to kind of put things over the top and really cement them as a real true contender this year. Of course, he doesn't really know exactly how the Islanders would feel about Taylor Hall, given the fact that they're a division rival of New Jersey. I would think that the Devils would likely expect more of a price to be paid for a team like the Islanders or anybody else in their own division if they want to acquire Hall. It's usually how things go. Not to say that inter-division trading can't happen. It certainly has in the past with certain teams hooking up for deals, but typically in those situations, they do expect that if they're helping another team get better, that they pay a bigger price tag. And now, of course, the Islanders are a team who has a pretty solid prospect system, in my opinion. They got some interesting guys. You throw out guys like Noah Dobson, Oliver Wahlstrom, Kiefer Bellows in the system as well. They've also got guys like Bodie Wild there. They certainly have an intriguing prospect pool that the Devils could certainly request from to help make this transaction take place. Of course, you throw in, a first-round pick, maybe a second-round pick, conditional pick, something off the roster that maybe a younger piece that could help now, and they very well could find themselves having a deal. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities, but it's hard to say. I don't see Lou mortgaging too much of the future to obtain a guy like Taylor Hall, but certainly he would be a good fit there. But we're not going to say that they're linked to Hall, but they ideally want to add that type of player. So I guess we'll see. There's certainly enough other scorers around the NHL and wingers who can produce and have in the past at least that have been mentioned in the rumor mill. You've got guys like Tyler Toffoli, you got Alex Galchenyuk, who's been quite mentioned a lot lately as well. So certainly interesting to see what the Islanders will do. Last year going into the playoffs, they certainly had a pretty solid year and they didn't really do much of anything. So could we maybe see a big move out of Lou Lamoriello in the Islanders to try to give themselves a boost heading into the playoffs? I do think it's possible. Elliotte Friedman thinks it's possible, but it's hard to say exactly what that move is going to be. Now, sticking with the Islanders here for a moment, there was another very interesting thought in this blog post that was very interesting, which could impact the future of the New York Islanders. Now, it was mentioned that prospect goaltender Ilya Sorokin, who's playing in the KHL right now for CSKA Moscow, that it's possible that he may not be coming over next year, or at least according to CSKA Moscow, they want to keep him and are pushing hard to sign him to an extension. Now, as of right now, his contract does expire after the current season, and I know that Lamoriello seemed to be pretty hopeful that he could bring the star goaltender from, at least in the KHL, over to the Islanders next year, which I think played a huge role in their current goaltending plans that they did last offseason with not signing Robin Lehner, bringing in Varlamov as well, because Varlamov and Sorokin do share an agent, so I do think there was kind of a planned approach there. The fact that, obviously, he could work with the agent a little bit closer. Varlamov could very well be, a mentor to him coming over, having a fellow Russian goaltender work with as a goalie partner certainly would probably make the transition a lot smoother, not only on the ice, but off the ice as well. And I honestly think that was part of the plan and the decision that went into not retaining Robin Lehner, because it was well known that Lehner wanted to remain with the Islanders, but a contract offer just wasn't coming to be because of the direction that they wanted to head into. So that could very well be a big blow to the Islanders. Now, right now, they're getting solid goaltending again between Varlamov and Thomas Greiss. They could obviously change gears here and go a different route, but they've been trying to get Sorokin to come over for some time. He's 25 years old now, and there is talk that his KHL team would want to sign him possibly even to a 3-year extension. If he were to do that, he'd be able to take him all the way to age 28. Then the Islanders would no longer hold his NHL rights at that point, and if he did want to venture over to the NHL beyond that time frame later into his career, he would be an unrestricted free agent and be able to freely sign with any NHL club that he wanted to, or he could get a deal done. So it certainly could be a big blow for the Islanders, so another situation to be monitoring here as this season unfolds. Now, Elliot Friedman goes on to talk about the backup goaltending of the Toronto Maple Leafs, which has certainly been a point of contention for this club, and certainly many feel that they do need to make a move at some point during the season. They need to be able to get some wins, or some points at least, out of those games when the backup goaltender plays, because Michael Hutchinson so far has not fared well, and things have just really haven't gone well when Freddie Anderson has not been in the net. I mean, they've even had their games with Anderson in the net that they haven't had the best games, and the Leafs are not certainly sitting in a spot in the standings where we'd expect them to be right now. Most of us, myself included, figured they would have more wins, be higher in the standings, and be pretty safe in a playoff spot right now, and this has not come to be. Of course, we saw a coaching change earlier. They've certainly had to deal with more adversity than we've expected so far in this young season. There's been some talk as well, obviously, when you hear comments from Kyle Dubas that he really wanted to see the team play better in front of Hutchinson. Of course, that kind of gives Hutchinson a little bit of a vote of confidence that might help get him going a little bit. I mean, all of it can't be placed on him. The team in front of him did not fare well early in the year, especially during the Babcock tenure of being a head coach there. Since Keefe has come on, the team has played a little bit better, but not yet quite consistently as they need to. I guess that's a work in progress. We'll see how that goes. But a couple goaltenders that they've been linked to, one of them likely isn't on the market anymore. There's been some talk about the Penguins moving a goalie. Obviously, Matt Murray is a pending restricted free agent, needs a new contract. Two-time Stanley Cup winner, really young in his career. They also have Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith. So there's been a lot of talk that one of them could be moved. And earlier in the season, it looked like it was going to be Jarry. Very well could be the player to be moved. He's got a very cheap contract, which would fit the Leafs cap situation. But he's been an absolute tear with the Penguins lately, set a record for longest shutout streak. So clearly, I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. When Casey DeSmith's contract probably wouldn't work for Toronto. So I don't know if that's really going to be a fit anymore. And the Penguins might want to hold on to all of their goalies for the short term until they figure out what's the long-term plan with Murray. Maybe Jarry, is more of a part of their team for the future than they might have realized before, given his play odds of late. So I guess we will see. But another goalie to watch when it comes to the Leafs would be Georgiev in New York. The New York Rangers backup goaltender is really close to no longer being waivers exempt. So if he plays 3 more games, then he will require waivers. Rangers also have another stud goalie in the American Hockey League, Igor Shesterkin, who certainly could be a big part of this team's future as well. So it would not be shocking to see what kind of haul they could get in return for the current backup goalie playing behind Henrik Lundqvist. So that's the one guy to keep your eye on. I think that the Leafs could target, but I don't think it's going to be any kind of a big rush here. And Friedman says in his column that he believes the Leafs are going to ride things out at least for a while, and there's not going to be a big rush move to get a backup goalie. So we'll see how things go. They can play in front of Hutchinson a little bit better when he's in the net, and they can maybe look to the Rangers possibly later in the year if things need to be upgraded before the playoffs. There's plenty of defensemen that have been discussed as possible trade targets, of course, including guys like Shane Gostisbehere of the Flyers and Sami Vatanen of the New Jersey Devils. Of course, the Devils are expected to go into selling mode here sometime soon. Of course, we've talked about the Sabres on numerous occasions where they could use their extra depth on D to acquire a scoring forward. You got guys like Bogosian and Scandella. Even Colin Miller's been mentioned before as well. And one of the teams to watch a couple of teams to watch so when it comes to upgrading their D, as I mentioned before, certainly the Montreal Canadiens, but also the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights are certainly a team that needs some help back there in the blue line. Of course, they had to shed some salary during the offseason because of their tight cap situation, and now they're kind of paying the price. The blue line's a little bit thin, so certainly look for them to maybe make some moves that way. Now, Vegas could also use a little bit more depth at the forward position too, so we'll see how things go. They recently made an acquisition already there via a minor one, but I guess we'll see what they do for the blue line. But there's been a lot of talk that George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon would like to make an addition to the blue line for the Vegas Golden Knights. And like I said, we've talked about numerous times, Marc Bergevin and the Montreal Canadiens certainly need a left shot D. Ideally, somebody who can play with Shea Weber. There's been a lot of talk about Gostisbehere. There seemed to be a mixed reaction on whether or not that's going to come to be or not. But they certainly can need that type of player for sure. And you could also throw in Alec Martinez of the LA Kings into the mix as well. The Kings are a team that's likely not making the playoffs this year. Could move another veteran off their roster and free up some more space that way too. Maybe even retain some salary if necessary. I do think, like I said, Montreal certainly a team to watch. Of course, the teams in the Western Conference might not be too eager about helping out the Vegas Golden Knights, making them a little deeper on the blue line. Probably wouldn't be. It'd be somewhat surprising to see Vegas and LA hook up on a deal, but I could see Vegas being very interested in maybe making some acquisitions here with the Philadelphia Flyers or the Buffalo Sabres. That would not be at any surprise. But the Sabres are going to want a forward back. I'm not really sure Vegas has that to give up right now, so it would make more sense that they might have to go in a different direction. But could we see maybe the Flyers and the Golden Knights possibly hook up on a deal? I do think it's possible, but we will see. But right now, for the two teams mainly looking for defense, besides teams like the Winnipeg Jets, who certainly have a lot of question marks, there's certainly the Montreal Canadiens and the Vegas Golden Knights. So we'll keep an eye on that as the season progresses here. That is all your latest news updates here for today. Of course, as always, I want to know your thoughts and opinions and everything down in the comment section. So let me know what your thoughts are on all today's news, and we'll discuss further down in the comments. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.